Okay. The channel is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventures on So Many Levels. We're going to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Woohoo!
I suddenly lost confidence in my
Woo!
ability to replicate the thing that I say every time in the middle there. Just so, if anyone was rolling an insight check, you didn't need a high one there. But anyway, I'm Christiana Ellis, and I am the Dungeon Master. Our players tonight, Jenny Meltzer playing Zaylene,
Hello.
Paul Fisher playing Zinhorn Windborn,
Good evening.
and Starla Hutchton playing Carolina Swift.
Hello, friends.
We are sadly missing Mark Kilfoyle tonight because he is at some other thing. But we will continue in anyway. And so, let's talk a little bit about when last we saw the pocket protectors. You had made your way to the inner sanctum of this strange layered temple and found a series of thrones, the control mechanism for the system which keeps Dinuthair isolated. The only current seat left occupied by Tilitha, the figure of this story of legend that you have heard. Everyone else has gone. It seems like it's not going well. She looks like she's wasting away and very frail. But there was also an urgent need to stop Tanglefoot, a longtime adversary, or I should just say nemesis, because adversary is kind of the term you gave to someone else. But you went and you did. You stopped him. Good job. And you... Sorry, doing too many things at once. You did what was necessary to stop the current and present threat of Tanglefoot, this strange evil creature trying to break through and destroy this containment mechanism. You did stop him. You did your best to at least come up with a temporary method of resealing this little tunnel. And now it's up to you to decide what to do next.
Believe we were gonna go speak with Tilitha now that the immediate danger has passed.
Mm-hmm. That is it.
We
That's
shall summon the 2D
the fractine
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Our
so-
Superman villain square.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So your friend Nedry is of course still with you, even though he is an NPC version tonight, as well as Evan Cresseldown and Ivy Pennythorpe, and of course Buster, who is he still out walking around with you? Is he going to go in the fractine with you? Might be a little crowded.
Well, if we had the tower out, we could just put him back in there for now.
Yeah.
We did have the tower out because we temporarily blocked the entryway to the tunnel with the tower.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And we did level up.
Yes, although ostensibly you have not had like a long rest
Long
yet.
rest.
So
Okay.
yeah. So I think
I just have an administrative thing. I haven't figured out if I just want to raise my stats or take a feat yet. Jenny was helping me, and
It's only been a week.
It's not like I haven't been doing anything else.
No, and like we also only just talked about it like 2 or 3 days ago too.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean,
I'm
I am
just
fine if you
joking.
guys want to take a little time to just talk about the level up process. We don't usually do that on stream, but there's nothing wrong with it. We can do whatever we want.
yeah.
I was trying to find something to solve the immediate problem of like building stone, and that I couldn't find anything in the time that I spent looking at it, which was like an hour. But there's like a gazillion feats, and I don't know what they do.
It's true. There's a lot, and they all do different things.
Well,
Right.
like the ones I had recommended to you are really good, even though they didn't give you a stat boost because of where your stat is right now. You're at a 16, so if you take a feat, and it has a stat boost, it's only going to be a +1, so you're not going to get that extra oomph
Right.
to your spellcasting modifier and stuff. So,
Right.
but like I said, like you're at 16, that's not horrible,
Mhm.
but 18 is better when it comes to, spell attack modifier and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Well, and
Right.
then for that matter, you don't necessarily have to go with a feat because if you wanted to, if you have an ability score increase, level feature, then you could do 2 points to something and
Right.
increase that a full amount.
I was thinking that I needed to look at it, but I've got Boon of the Juggernaut, which I haven't used yet, and
Mm.
then there's like a Sentinel thing that might pair really well with.
Sentinel
Uh,
is a very useful tactical feat, but it's a little bit complicated, so you'll just want to read that carefully if you choose it.
Okay.
But it can come in very handy. Basically, it lets you, when you get the opportunity to make an opportunity attack on someone, they have to stop. If you hit, they have to stop moving. So if someone's trying to run away from you and you hit them, they don't get away.
Yeah, and it's also got something like if you I'm going to say zoom, that's not the right word. If you use all of you double your movement, what dash? If you dash, you
Mhm.
still get a bonus attack or something.
Um,
There's some feat that
there,
does that.
well, there's. I think there's some other feat that might do that, but that's not Sentinel.
Not Sentinel. Okay.
But with Sentinel, you also get to do opportunity attacks even if they try to disengage. And then you can also do an opportunity attack when a creature next to you attacks some other target besides you.
Cool.
So I mean, it's a pretty
I had
good
also
feat.
recommended Warcaster because you can cast spell attacks as attack of opportunity as long as it only targets one creature. And you get advantage on concentration checks for maintaining your spell concentration, which is really useful for spellcaster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at those again.
Okay.
But I think for the moment, I boosted. Yeah, for the moment, I just boosted my wisdom 2 points. Um, but I may change that if
Okay.
that's okay.
Well, I mean that
All right.
it is okay, and it is perfectly fine to do that. But just bumping up the wisdom increases the spell save DC for your spells, which is pretty big. Um, but the other question, so in case anyone was wondering, everybody's level 12 now. Um, what about you, Jenny? Did you want to talk about what you were doing? Did you decide to do that?
Yes, I did. I actually scaled back to level 4 Warlock and boosted my Cleric to level 8 instead
Mm-hmm.
because I've become, as we've been playing, I've become more of a cleric and,
Mm-hmm.
spokesperson, the Mistress of the Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Cult
So,
leader.
yeah,
Yes, cult leader.
a cult leader, yeah. So I actually did that. So now I have a little bit more like clerical range, but I lost my shadow friend in the process. But that's okay because I have Evan as my other shadow friend.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was what I chose to do.
Mm-hmm. And so, what about you, Starla? Did you just another level in Bard standard?
Yeah, another level in Bard, but this time there's only one other time that I've taken a feat, and that was campaign 1.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, just because there have been so many times where it's like I'm useless because I can't see anything because it's dark.
Mm.
So I actually chose a feat. It's Eldritch Adept, and it's called Devil's Sight.
Uh-huh.
So I can see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical, to a distance of 120 feet.
Whoa.
Ooh, nice.
Nice.
It goes with my magic eyes that I got as my boon from Solomonia. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now you don't have to hold my hand anymore when it's dark. You can just do it because you want to.
yeah, I was gonna say I like holding your hand.
Well, so I think then is everyone ready to kind of proceed with the story? Did you get what you needed, Paul, or are you still thinking
Yep.
about it? Okay. Well, depending on you, I'm not necessarily planning to spring you back right into combat right away. Um, but,
Okay.
you know, I can't rule out the idea that you guys might find a way to make it happen. So,
Fight me, Talitha.
What makes you say that?
Well, oops, Rufino just fell out of this diamond. Oh no.
yeah. Well, you know, also, I have to say, actually, it has been my experience that you all more often find ways to not do combat when I'm expecting combat to happen than the other way around. But anyway,
Because we're chickens.
you summon the Fractine. I think that although Nedry is paying attention to some extent, I think he has gotten really involved in copying down all the magical formulae and everything that were in that long message on the monolith in that plate room and trying to understand and process the mechanisms, the arcane mechanisms by which Denutherian magic works. And I think that's absorbing him enough that he's a little distracted. But as you pass back through the Fractine's, you know, passage through into this strange vault, once again you see this enormous room. There has already been some level of breach, and you had seen that from the description that was on the message outside. Told you various stages of what a breach would entail, and it was clear that the uncontrolled breaches have been detected, and the throne chamber may only be safely accessed via the Fractine, is the state that it's in. So you see all of these strange, sort of swirling, iridescent flashes of energy that almost look like bits of cloth being blown about on the wind, except that it'll glow and occasionally dissolve into transparency, and it's not moving on any sort of wind that you can understand. But a lot of energy moving around in there. And at the focal point of the room are these 6 thrones, and in the center one, as you left her, is Talitha, who still looks quite old, quite weak, but she also looks somewhat more relieved than the urgent expression you saw on her face when you last left her. So she looks to you and just kind of gives you a nod of respect.
We've. Yep. We've taken care of Tanglefoot. He should be gone for a while, but we can't kill him yet. But it'll take him a while to reform.
In the
And in the
meantime-
meantime, we blocked off the tunnel, so hopefully nobody will be able to get through for a while.
And we're hoping to find a more permanent solution to close the tunnel that they had burrowed in.
Yeah.
She kind of grins wryly and just for a moment puts her head in her hands, and she just says, "I'm sorry, I just remembered the parallels are rather uncanny. So looking for a more permanent solution to breaches has been on my mind."
I imagine
imagine.
so.
I know that there was quite a screed on the walls outside. I imagine that because you are here in the Fractine that you read them. But I can only imagine that you have more questions.
So many questions.
So
So
many.
many questions. Yeah. Like, first and foremost, how can we help you?
It's a good question. The basic scenario that I find myself in is that my friends and I created a mechanism by which the six of us collectively use our own life force and magical ability to hold the containment closed. As you can see, I am now left attempting to do it by myself, and I cannot keep it up for much longer. Now, I'm not sure that we're at the point where the only thing to be done is to find more people to fill out these thrones. But short of that, we need another broader solution. Because
No, keep going.
Dinuther fights its prison, and it is not an easy thing to keep it closed. We had thought this to be the only way, and yet the only thing we could think of is in the process of failing.
Well, there was one other option. I did want to ask what caused your companions to leave? Why would they just abandon this after putting so much into it?
One of our number had a gift wherein he could sometimes see future events before they happened.
Ustak, correct?
Yes, yes. He, some time ago, had a vision that we would fail in our attempt to keep Dinuther sealed, and that our system was not itself inherently flawed, but rather that events outside us would change the nature of magic in the world such that our system would no longer be a perfect seal. Once this vision came to pass, it was clear that even with all six of us, it was only a matter of time before it would fail regardless, and leaks had begun to develop in the meantime. These leaks would only get worse and worse. And so the plan was decided that one by one, each of my companions left in hopeful search of another way. And as much as I would like to know everything, I have not seen any of them return.
Well, we know for sure where 3 of them are.
In fact, we have 2 of them with us.
Sort of.
Kind of.
Yeah.
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 One of them, your druid friend, he is otherwise occupied. He's fine. He's very happy where he's at. But I don't think he'll be coming back. But, yeah. The other 2, it it's kind of difficult to. I mean, we don't even know all of the
Not
details of what
really.
happened.
I mean, one of them is in my pocket, and the other one is dead. And we know for a fact that the dead one was corrupted.
But the not dead one also built a giant death machine to blow up half this plane of existence. So you can see where maybe that puts us in a little bit of a tight spot.
Well, I know
Yeah.
which that one would have been.
I'm sure you can
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. And well, we took care of the giant death machine. No one's going to be using that for a while.
Hopefully.
And we can restore both of them to life. But we've been reticent to do that because they're so much more powerful than we are, and we don't know if they've been corrupted, and if they have, will the pipe that we have that extracts the nightmares work on them?
It should, but I mean, we do know that Trendanel is corrupt. We know that for a fact because the dragon told us.
Yes,
We don't know about Rubino.
right.
So I'll just remind you that you're certainly mentioning a lot of pronouns and names and events and locations that I'm not familiar with because I've been here for centuries.
Mm,
But
I could understand you might not be familiar with Sitzlebeck. That's a relatively new development. What, say like last 100 years, maybe?
No.
what I can say is first, although it is true that each of us coming out of Dinethere possessed a great deal of magical ability and power compared to the average mortal, I would suggest that you all consider yourselves extremely powerful as well. This temple above us was intended to keep out any who would seek to disrupt our program here. And the fact that you made it through suggests that you have, at least collectively within you, a great deal of power yourselves.
We also had help from Selter. Not very much, but enough.
I suppose he's the one that has found some way to keep his mind off things.
Yes.
And we had some help from Marushka a little bit.
Please tell me about that.
Well, I mean, she was very, very distraught and broken. And she was taking it out on everything. And I had to help her and reason with her to get her to calm down because of what was done to her.
And you were able to accomplish this?
Yes.
I'm sorry to have this turn into me questioning you, but how?
I explained to her that death is a necessary part of life and she needed to let go.
She's very close with the Mistress of the Dark.
Mistress
It's
of-
not as bad as it seems, I swear. Sounds
Why
bad.
do
It's
you
not bad.
say that?
Well,
Why do you
some
guys
people
always
have
say that?
some people have opinions about it. I don't share those opinions.
I wonder. In any case, I suspected that our initial seal had prevented Marushka from understanding what had happened to her. And I suspected that with the coming and increasing breaches and leaks, I suspected that she might come to understand without being able to restore that power, and there's no doubt in my mind that she would be angry as a result.
I think she was a little bit more than angry, and it could have been catastrophic if I had let her go or if I hadn't been able to reach her.
Well, I suppose then that I can only offer you my thanks. There's so much that is left undone while I am forced to remain here. And yet, I do not remain here out of reluctance, but rather out of a self-imposed duty, I suppose.
So I have a small question. I don't know if you knew these people. They seem to know all about this place. Their names were Alistair and Isilde.
I don't know specifically of whom you speak, but those are Dinutherian names. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if that were not tied to Hestia in some way.
We've not met her. Well, that did lead me to another question. Were they something like guardians of this place? Because you have this elaborate setup, you know, in the levels above and the warning on the door outside, but it feels like there should still be someone here watching just to make sure. And if something does go wrong, that they might be able to get help or stop them, something. But there was no one here.
When we first arrived here, having contrived our, I suppose you could call it a conspiracy, but having achieved our ends, having sealed away Dinuther, beginning to make our plans here, when you have a devil in a bottle, you start thinking of ways to make sure that the cork does not come out. We, among us, came to a consensus that this place was the only way, or at least the best way that we could conceive of keeping it sealed for as long as we could. I say consensus, but there was one dissenter, and that was Hestia. If you read the story, but you see there are 6 thrones here, not 7. Hestia was always one who sought to accomplish works by talking to those in opposition. She wanted to enlist help from the people of the material plane outside of Dinuther. But the rest of us were certain that to bring in anyone else outside of our circle would only invite them to repeat the mistakes made in Dinuther. And so we 6 felt sure that we must keep it all a secret. Hestia disagreed, and we could not come to a compromise. The argument worsened to the point that she was leaving, and the rest of us had to choose if we could let her leave or not. And the core of our own argument would suggest that we must stop her, because if we did not, she would violate the whole principle that we had organized our plan around. And yet, she was our friend, and we let her go. I don't know what has become of her since, but I know that her intent was to seek allies outside of our circle. If there are others with Dinutherian names on this continent, I suspect that she found some allies and perhaps created some.
Well, Ellister perished in a pocket dimension, and he was waiting for Isolde to find him, but someone trapped him there. Someone rigged it so that when he went in to his little garbage bag kind of pocket dimension where he threw out all of his experiments, that he wouldn't be able to get back out. So there were obviously other people involved and wanted to sabotage him.
It's very possible it's the same people that have been tunneling their way into here.
Yes, I suspect I have no ability to see outside this temple, but I do have the ability to see within it, beyond this chamber that I physically sit in. So I know the creatures of whom you speak, and they have been here more than once. They are
That's what
part...
it looks like.
When I previously spoke of leaks, it is perhaps an oversimplification, but without trying to write on a chalkboard, so to speak, our original containment was predicated on, and in some respects powered by, the oscillation of order and chaos from the primal planes of order and chaos outside our reality. And some time ago, this is the event foreseen by Ustok, those forces were sealed away from the material plane. An event
I know that story.
Well, I do too, as it happens. They made quite a point of it when this was all accomplished. And I have no doubt whatsoever that this was done for good reasons and that the benefits have been plentiful. But a side effect that none but our own circle could have anticipated is that it disrupted the means by which our containment of Dinuther operates. And it allows our containment is in some respects composed of pure order. And now that it is not offset with the plane of elemental chaos, chaos finds a way of condensing itself into the prime material plane. And I believe that the creatures you encountered are, in effect, those bled off elementals of chaos. They
Well, it is still possible that we'll be able to ask someone what happened to Hestia. I'm gonna fish out the Vidunme deck. She's like, but she's sort of trapped in here. And it's proving tricky to get her out.
There are risks associated with getting her out.
Well,
That
yes. Welcome to my own conundrum.
Yes.
It is a truth that we have come to understand extremely well, that there are some evils that prove very resilient to destruction, but can sometimes be contained, and yet that containment requires a prison requires a prison guard. And we had not necessarily sought to become eternal prison guards, and yet we saw no alternative. And it seems as though this principal dilemma finds its way of echoing in parallels great and small throughout reality. You say that you
In
have
all the time you've been sitting here, and
jokes being made where I don't see them. What is this?
like, who's talking right now? I don't know. Okay. Well, I was just going to say, in all the time that you've been sitting here, have you come to any other possible resolutions for this problem?
There are certainly some broad strokes, but many have been impossible to accomplish on my own. And all contain their own dangers. But as you can see, I am not as strong as I once was, and there are risks and dangers associated with continuing as I have been. Eventually, my life force will give out and the containment will be broken. So, even risking breaking containment for some other purpose, at worst, would only make the containment breach happen sooner. But potentially, perhaps, could find another way. But, as I mentioned, none of these are things that I could accomplish on my own. You, though, is your group committed to this cause, or do you find yourself here only out of interest? What brings you to me?
We live here, so we would like it to not be destroyed, or otherwise taken over by nightmare creatures. Mostly we just want to help people. That's what we do. And I'll like flash the business card. I can't give it to her, but
I also
You,
imagine
like
that this
press
is where
it up
Nedry,
against the side of the vacuum. She's like leaning forward, pulls out little pince nez glasses. Yeah.
I also imagine that this is where Nedry would start piping in with all of his explanations and
Yeah.
his theories and
Mm-hmm.
and his reasons for why we're here.
So it strikes me that there are some possible paths that might be taken from here if you and your friends are committed to assisting in this matter. One, and although this is antithetical to what I have devoted my life to for centuries, there is the option of simply letting the containment open and attempting to deal with Dinither as in whatever state they might find themselves now. I do not know. I know that Rupino in particular was always curious and speculated about ways that he might peek inside the bubble, but I don't know if he ever accomplished this.
yeah, kind of. Well, I mean, we never tried it, but we were a little busy.
Yeah, it looked like he did though.
Kind of part and parcel with the whole, death machine thing.
Right. That is always the risk there, is that if we open the containment, for all I know, we may find that they have burnt themselves to cinders in the meantime, and that we have held on for so tight, so long, for nothing.
In my
But-
experience, it's never that easy.
Indeed, if we may as well find that they have been preparing for that day and have an invasion force ready to turn the rest of the material plane and perhaps other planes from there into their own personal power sources. There is no way to know,
Experiences.
but that is what will happen one way or another unless some other path is chosen. The other option would be, as Rupino attempted, to either by arcane or even scientific means attempt to see what is taking place inside and perhaps travel there without releasing the containment. But that is, of course, fraught. There are risks even with looking, and certainly it is not clear what the travelers into the bubble would find or be able to do once there. And there would certainly be no way out unless the containment were to fall.
What if it has to? I mean, Rupino was looking for a way to destroy it, but it would destroy absolutely everything else.
Well, I suppose he might have updated his calculations since he spent time down here speculating, but I believe that he had estimated that it will only destroy part of the material plane, which is only a benefit when weighed against the possible destruction of the entire material plane and other planes besides.
True.
But not a desirable option in any case, to be sure.
No. I was thinking as a stopgap measure, at least immediately, that we could raise Trendanel from the dead and extract the nightmare from him and convince him to join you, and also get um, Rupino out of the gem that he is locked in. And if he's corrupted, then also extract the nightmare from him and try and get him to join you, at least to buy us some time so that we can look for other options.
When you say extract the nightmare, was he successful then, Rupino, in creating a device which could be operated by anyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Splendid. Splendid.
We found it hidden away in the tower.
It
We
was-
don't know how he got there. If maybe it was Hestia that put him there.
Or Rupino. And we don't know how corrupted
Well, no,
he
I'm
is
talking
either.
about Rupino. Like, we don't
Oh.
know how he got inside the gem.
Hmm.
But we found both the gem and the device that we used to, draw out the nightmares inside of the tower in a tiny little make-believe house. It was like its own little tiny pocket dimension. And
That
that was
does-
also where we found Trendanel.
That does sound like Rupino. I don't know the events in particular, but what I would say is, to be sure, if any of my former colleagues could be persuaded to return here and take their thrones up once more, that would buy us time. But it is also true that if they have in fact been corrupted, it may be difficult to persuade them. They must take the seat voluntarily. There is also the option of buying time by having another take the place. This is not something I ask of any of you, but I only bring up as an option.
How would we? How do you even get in there? Because the whole it can't be breached thing.
Well, I believe if you recall the specific wording, and I think, like maybe Nedry pipes up with this, yes, I believe it said that the throne chamber may only be safely accessed via the Fractine, she says. It can be done, but there would be exposure in the meantime. And it would be could be accomplished, but would be difficult. And I'm afraid that mortal creatures that have not been touched by the pillar may find that they are less long-lasting in this process than my colleagues have been, and I cannot promise how long.
About the pillar. Do our characters know about the pillar?
Yeah, there was the discussion of the, what you as players know about the pillar, from the story that you read.
Right,
In
but our
character.
characters, I can't remember if
Oh,
they
right,
know
yes.
about the pillar.
Okay, yes. So you may not, so certainly you know more about the pillar as players because we played the Hounds game, right? But recall before that, before you got in the Fractine, and there was this long story of everything that happened that led up to that, did mention the pillar there. So you do
Yeah,
know
I
about,
couldn't remember.
you know about the pillar as a mysterious Titan artifact that is within the Dinuthere, and it was what created the original magic power that started the whole thing, but also what allowed the escape and creation of the containment. But then I think as Talitha says this and just says, even as the thrones sap away at my vitality, I suspect that there are creatures that would find that it saps their vitality much more quickly. But I wonder, you and pointing to you, Carolina. I wonder, do you perhaps have the ability to change your form?
How do you know that?
Got an eye for it, my dear. And as she kind of taps it, her eye and like a patch around it briefly turns to sort of like the pale and dark-eyed version of like your sort of default um, appearance.
You're she can do it too.
I suspect
you-
you found at least one of the layers of the temple above a bit easier to manage than your colleagues did.
Yeah, I was wondering why that was.
Well,
But
perhaps.
I'm not I don't think I'm not from Denethor.
Well, you recall when I mentioned that perhaps Hestia had not merely found some allies, but made some? Perhaps you are her descendant.
Wow. That's a lot. I guess maybe that's what Tanglefoot meant.
maybe.
What did Tanglefoot say?
He said, well, I wasn't really happy when he said it, but he said that I was like him, but the opposite.
Didn't he also look at you and say, "I know what you are"?
She did too.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I may not know everything, but what I know is that each of us who came out of Denethor through the Pillar's magic found ourselves changed as a result, touched by the pure order that powered the containment, given the ability to order our own bodies in many ways. And a creature bled off of a leaking device composed of elemental chaos might well see you as their opposite.
I mean, I guess that's a good thing because I don't like him very much.
One thing that you may come to like even less about those individuals is, in addition to being, to my knowledge, impossible to permanently destroy, they have a way of infecting other mortal creatures. And in fact, their numbers, I suspect, have been growing through this process. Even the individual you speak of was created this way, as opposed to being formed natively from this elemental chaos. He was
Maybe
once a
that's what-
halfling.
Go ahead.
He was once a halfling. I believe he took the halfling's name. There was an expedition from a university or some other
The
sort of...
Reclaimers Academy.
Yes, that, I believe that was it. There was an expedition, a disastrous one, that led to the loss of nearly every individual who probed the depths of our temple. But not every individual. There were some that left, but none that left unchanged. Some with knowledge that they did not understand, and a halfling with a tiny parasite that would one day transform him entirely.
I wonder if was was a gnome one of those? What is it? Cankers.
Oh, Percival
Something.
Cankers. Yeah, Percival
Percival
Cank.
Cankers.
Yeah, that's who you mean. She says no. The other was a human.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, I have a bad suspicion, but maybe not something to discuss right now.
I have nothing but time.
Well,
Well, I
not
mean, it would just be speculation on my part anyway. It's. I'm sure it's nothing. Um. So, is it possible then that I can help you?
Yes, at least in the sense that if you were to come and take a throne by my side, the two of us together could hold on to the containment as it stands now for longer than I can manage on my own. But it buys time only, and it would require you to stay here for whatever time we would hope to gain. But it is possible that there may be some other way to help. You mentioned the possibility of having Rupino or Trandonel restored here, and for that matter, Selter was not one to change his mind easily, especially when the option of running away was available, but any of them could likewise take up their seat once again and buy time.
I don't think we could get to Selter again. That was sort of a one-time meeting. I mean, we
And
might, but yeah, it'd be
I don't I
difficult.
don't yeah I don't think our odds of getting him out of there are very good if they exist at all.
Yeah.
I feel like I could find it again if I really wanted to with Buster's help, but I agree with you. I don't think he'd come.
He did. He reached a point in discussions with us where he just shut down completely and was like, "I gotta go. I'm out. Here's this key. Goodbye." And that was that. So,
I must uh, catch myself a bit when I find myself tempted to judge him that he signed on for much more than most could ever bear. It is not entirely to his. It is a great deal to ask of anybody.
yeah, I don't really think he had the disposition for it. He was very tormented and had a lot of bad memories that
Of all of
he didn't
us
even
that
want to think of.
remained here, it was him that had the hardest time remaining inside, cut away from the natural magics that he used to.
Seeing you here and knowing how long roughly that you've been here, it's astonishing anyone could do what you've done for this long.
If we were to attempt to appeal to Trendinel and Rupino, do you have any advice on what might be used to sway them?
I can tell you of the two people that I knew that were my friends and what they hoped to do when they left here. Rupino was always technology minded. He was an overflowing font of ideas and concepts that he could apply. He was never happier than when he was building something, and he was skilled at it, as I'm sure that you have encountered. But as he was so skilled and talented at finding magical and technological and artificial solutions to problems, he did have a tendency to fixate on there being a solution to every problem via a contraption. And so I am sure this observatory slash death ray you mentioned became an obsession of sorts. Once persuaded in his own mind that that was the way to solve the problem, it would have been very difficult to dissuade him of that approach because he trusted his own path more than any advice. I think that if you were to try to appeal to him, it must be in the encouragement that he can do better, rather than suggest that he was wrong to pursue his path, to persuade him rather that he is capable of more. And the difficulty therein lies in not knowing for certain if that's true.
Well, we're
Well-
very good at believing in people.
Well, not only that, but I mean, we've seen a lot of the things that he's done, the tower, the weird shrinky grow ray, the whole device that he created. I really think that if he could do all of those things, that he could come up with a better solution.
It may be. He just has not yet, is the trick. Now, what you described, what you have been calling corruption, in some respects, it is an attempt to put labels that we can understand on concepts that may be beyond true comprehension. And so there is always a risk of oversimplification or misunderstanding. But what you have called corruption or nightmares are not altogether inappropriate labels. And it may well be that this attempt to look inside and to be prepared to unleash devastation may have been fueled less by his desire for innovation and more by his despair that there's nothing more to be done.
Well, on the bright side, we have no idea how long he's been inside this gem. He's had a lot of time to think.
Well, that is if he is conscious. Is he sealed in a magic gem, you say?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I could kind of see him in there, like little flickers, but yeah, I don't know if he's conscious or not. But
I
You
do
spent a
not
really long time looking at that gem.
I do not know with precision what has happened, but the fact that you found Rupino and Trandonel nearby one another makes me suspect that it was Trandonel's doing to seal him in the gem. It's his style. I suspect there's some powerful healing spell bound to it.
it's
Yes.
a resurrection spell, which is
Yes.
ironic because Trandonel's dead now. But I mean, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that maybe Rupino actually trapped him after he sealed Rupino in the gem, because we did question him. We spoke with Dead, and he did tell us that Rupino was corrupted, but we also know for a fact that he
Well,
is
he
corrupted.
said he should not be released under any circumstances. He didn't necessarily say that he was corrupted.
I'm just
Right.
laughing at the cat's tail
Yeah.
poking up above the video.
A very interesting vape pen.
Trandinel.
She came down to say hi.
Trandinel is he was a paladin. I would say he was one of the best of us in terms of, you know, virtue and loyalty and selflessness. But none of us are immune to despair or anger. He was one of the last to leave my side because he saw it as his duty to remain here. And it was, when he left, it was because he intended to seek out the others. And what he told me that he intended is that they would return or that they would die.
So that sounds almost like Rupino had no intention of coming back here. If he sealed him away.
If Rupino was convinced that he had a better path, he would have resisted Trandinel's efforts.
Hmm.
So Trandinel himself, you say, has also succumbed to this corruption. I suspected that was the case myself when that was his course of action. Because as much as I also desired them to return in ways both selfish and selfless, I believe that his motivation was no longer out of duty or loyalty, but rather anger that they had achieved freedom that he had not. And rather than seek it himself, he found that he must punish those that had. I could not persuade him otherwise when he left.
He was a paladin. That means he must have made some kind of vow? Well, I suppose you can convince yourself that anything is in the pursuit of your vow.
Well, I mean,
Mm,
aren't there such things as oathbreaker paladins? I mean, maybe he's broken his oath.
maybe.
If he was one of the most loyal and virtuous, then this is what he's become.
It is, as I mentioned before with Selter, this duty has been a lot to ask. In some respects, it has been easier for me since I've been alone, simply because there was never any other option.
I think we have a lot to think about.
Yeah, we do.
And hopefully we'll have other options for you.
I appreciate everything that you've done so far in stopping the creature known as Tanglefoot, and coming here and hearing my story. And I know all too well that it is not something that I could ask of any other person. But it is nonetheless true that if something is not done, I cannot last much longer. But it is not a matter of hours. I think you all must rest and
Yes.
reflect.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have more questions, I'll be here.
All right.
Okay. Does it feel weird when we come out of the little thing when we were 2 dimensional? Does it feel weird to become 3 dimensional again?
Well, so in some respects, for your own like subjective experience, you never felt two dimensional. It's more a matter that it's like with a portable hole or a bag of holding or something like that. You're in a little bit of a pocket that exists in the rest of the world only as a two-dimensional square, but you're just standing in a room as far as you
She was
can.
watching us on TV.
Yeah. So you were like it felt like you were in this little like sort of cube shaped box and you were looking out through a transparent wall and that's what you were seeing.
All right.
But if you like,
So-
when you leave it, you feel a little sort of sound.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
I thought so. Yeah.
So the tower is set up so we can go inside.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we should keep watch, or do you think it'll be okay to?
I think it'll be
inside.
all right. I think we've got a little bit of time.
They won't be able to breach it without coming through the tower, so the
True.
most they could do is just to look in the hole, I think, or the ratine.
They could start another
Right.
tunnel, but that
They could
probably
start
wouldn't be
another tunnel.
quickly. But you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we'd hear what was going on.
not from inside the tower because the tower is
Well,
its own little dimension.
No, but it would take them long enough. Eventually, we have to come out.
Right.
Sure.
So I'm going in the tower.
All
I'm
right.
going in the town.
So is everyone
Yep.
getting ready to take a long rest?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna actually draw Evan aside
Okay.
before I do my meditation.
Yeah, I think
And-
he you pull him aside and he's just like coming over and he's just like, I mean, wow, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you doing okay? You said that you needed to talk to me, Andy. You were dead, and then you
Well-
weren't.
yeah, like it was strange because I mean, I think I don't think I need to be embarrassed to admit that I've like always been scared of dying. I
Mhm.
mean, I think that's pretty common, so it's not like weird that I was.
No, it's not.
But like maybe it's because, like you've been telling me all about like the Mistress of the Dark and the Shadowfell and stuff like that. And like when it happened, I was like a spirit for a little while, I think. And like while I was over there, it's like whoa. Like I get it. And so
It
like
makes sense.
yeah, well, and so like now that I'm back, like I mean, obviously we've got stuff to do, so I'm like, I'm here. I'm here to do
Yeah.
stuff. But I guess it's just more like well, it maybe it seems a little bit silly at this point to say like, whoa, it's real, but that's kind of how it felt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, we know about spirits and the things that they do and the roles that they play in our lives. But to think that, passing over into shadow when we die, it's kind of intimidating. I mean, some of those books that I read when we were on the book ship, I told you about the book ship. I'm sure we've talked about it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I read some books about the Mistress of the Dark and the Shadowfell while we were there, and people are so afraid
Mm.
because of the shadows, but I don't think there's really anything to be afraid of.
Well, it's kind of just like, when you're a kid, like you're afraid of the dark.
Right.
And even when you're a grown up, like the dark, if you can't see through the dark, you don't know what's there. And so the unknown can be scary.
Yeah.
But now I guess I just sort of feel like Like, I don't think my eyes are any different, but I feel like I see a little better.
That makes a lot of sense.
To be clear, though, I'm not really looking to die again anytime soon. I mean, like, it was not fun while it was happening.
No, I mean being inside that weird thing. Oh,
Super
we tried to
gross.
get you out.
Oh yeah, no,
Carolina went in after you.
I was aware of a little bit of that, but I was kind of also like really kind of focused on my own thing, which I am sure you get. But
Yeah.
yeah, so just I guess I would just want to say like no, I'm like I'm trying to like I imagine who I was back when I thought I was a spy, and now just like all of this
Mhm.
feels so big, like it's not just even other planes, but like spirits and ancient cities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, in any case, I just hope that, I can keep helping however I can.
You're doing such a good job. And most people, if they died and then they came back, the first thing they would say is, I'm out. And yet you're like reaffirmed, Like you feel like you want to be an even bigger part, and that's a good thing.
Well, it's a little bit like I've had it shown to me that the water is in fact over my head, but
Yeah.
I've also been shown that I can float.
Yeah, and you can swim too, you know?
Well, I'm going to try anyway.
You're doing a good job. And like you've been doing all that training with Zinhorn and you're getting really good.
Yeah,
You have
like
that cool armor now.
I just like, yeah, I'm feeling strong and, it's good.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just saying, like, it feels weird to say this when it's like, oh no, we've got to figure out a way to stop the ancient evil city from, I guess, coming out. And that's all like dangerous and stuff. But I sort of just feel like if that was going to be happening anyway, I guess I'd rather be here helping to fix it than to just be waiting for them to, stomp on me with a giant robot or something.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. You've come such a long way. I'm so
Aw.
proud of you.
Aw. Thanks. It just, it's meant a lot to me. Your motivation and kind of just like being my mistress of the dark mentor.
Well, we see a lot of danger and death is always a possibility. I feel like it's important to understand that and embrace it. It's not a cult, no matter what Carolina says. It's really not. Like, they think it's a cult. But I get the impression that the Mistress of the Dark had like a really bad reputation or something. But then it goes back to like what we were just talking about, when you're a little kid, you're afraid of the dark.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking that too, cause like it's people are just calling it a cult because like they're just looking into the shadow and they can't see into it.
Right. But one day, they're going to look into that shadow and they're going to see that, you got to walk in. You can't walk away from the shadow forever.
Mm. All right.
Yeah.
Well, um, I died and came back today, so I think I'm gonna try to get
Yes.
some rest. So,
Yeah, you really should.
but
Definitely. You're
yeah.
probably like 3 levels of exhaustion time.
All right. So I think he heads out, and he does. It was Zinhorn that cast the spell, is my understanding. So
Mhm.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
think.
Zinhorn's like,
Well,
I raised him from the dead, and
no,
he goes over
He
and
was
talks
coming
to
over to
her.
talk to you also.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that's what
Oh,
I was
okay.
just saying. Is that so? Um, but I think in some ways he, like, his relationship with you is different than with her.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
so I think that there's a little bit of a so Zinhorn, sir, I guess I didn't really get a chance. I sort of formally wanted to, like, you know, well, it's kind of like what and he gets kind of awkward, and then he just kind of, well, here, I think we've got, Mark. If I can get it, welcome.
Good, because I have a question for Nedry.
All the questions.
Glad you could join us, Mark. But just
It
to
was a
finish,
really good nap. I hope I didn't miss anything.
I wrote it down,
yeah.
but yeah.
So, yeah, but Evan just kind of finally he tries to say a lot of different things and doesn't quite get any of them out, and then he just sort of looks to you and sticks out his hand like for a handshake.
I grab his hand and pull him in for a hug,
Aw.
and give him a big hug, and I'm like, you saw the other side today, but I hope you don't mind that I brought you back, because I think you're still needed here.
Well, no, I mean, no, I don't mind. I mean, yeah, like, thanks. I mean, seriously, like, it's great. Like, I feel like, like it's like it was a rite of passage or something. Like, that seems weird to say from back from the town back in Gorn where I came up, but, I tell you, it's just like, I feel like, not like I'm invincible or anything. Obviously, I'm not. Obviously, right? But more just
Yep.
kind of like it feels almost more like. And he kind of like gets quiet for a moment. And he sort of looks down at the ground. Is like, it felt like you all thought I was worth bringing back. I mean, I've kind of felt like I'm just sort of a little bit of a hanger on, like I kind of came along. I was like the little kid brother or something, but but you brought me back because thought I was worth it, and that
When
means
you
a lot to
took
me.
the job to be a spy, you set yourself on a path to be different from everyone around you. And when you joined us, like, we thought we were fighting the Empire for real. Like, they were like super corrupt and just all of this weird shit going on. Like, you were right there with us. I have always wanted you fighting by my side.
Well, I hope that'll apply when we do some sparring tomorrow.
All right, that sounds good.
All right. I'm gonna go sleep now.
Yeah, I've got a big gray pillow that I'm gonna snuggle up with.
He's great, by the way. I'm so glad that you have control over him because he is terrifying.
Oh, he's just a giant puppy.
Well, he's a giant puppy that we all just watched tear Tanglefoot to shreds. So, yeah.
Yes!
Right?
I know, right?
Yeah, so in any case, good night. For real this time. He runs away.
Okay.
Okay, so Mark, since we've got Nedry now, I don't know how much of the session up till now you were able to watch, but there was a lot of discussion with Tilitha and so on. Was there anything you wanted to try to add to that element, or are you fine just kind of picking up here?
I'm fine just picking up here. I caught maybe 2 minutes, so it's
Okay.
not like I was having fun watching you on my full big TV, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Hey, I can chat here too. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Well, see, now you learned the lesson. If you want to lurk, then you need to not chat, because then we'll call you out. So.
Right. That is the story of my life right there.
But yes, in any case, so some questions answered, etc. But also still the big one is okay. Now what though?
So Carolina did have a question for Nedry.
Uh-oh.
So Talitha said when the expedition sorry.
You
When
seem to
the
be being attacked by a small feline creature. I can make it go away. I didn't know the tower
when
came with a cat, but now I know.
when the Reclaimers Academy expedition came here, and she said it was disastrous, but two managed to leave. One was a halfling, and another was a human. We know who the halfling was. That's Tanglefoot. What we don't know is who the human was, and so I'm gonna make very sure that like I don't know where Ivy is, but this is like
Hmm.
with Nedry, nobody else, just Nedry.
Sure.
Probably should have said that at the beginning.
No, that's fine. No, I'll allow that. I get that. Yeah. Although one thing I will say just a little bit is, just in terms of like meta knowledge versus player knowledge, is that like uh, there were some things that you knew about that expedition before, from when you explored the Reclaimers Academy. So just
Um, so I was wondering, you have a spell to detect corruption, right?
I've figured one out, yeah.
I don't I don't suppose you used that at all on our friend.
Well, I've only recently figured it out. It's really more of the nightmare infection than directly corruption. They're related, but not exactly the same thing, or at least I'm still working on a theory about that. But I haven't really used it all that much yet. It's mostly been theoretical, and the couple of times I have used it, I haven't detected anything. I'm sure it will work, but who are you thinking about? The friend of the Emperor?
Yeah, oh, you might want to keep your voice down just a little bit. I don't know. Ivy seems very nice, but I
Oh,
mean,
she is too.
anyway, so maybe don't tell her about this just yet. I'm slightly concerned that the human that left here might be said friend because it wasn't a gnome, and Percival Cankers was a gnome.
Well,
But
the adversary was a bunch of things.
what do we really know about the friend of the Emperor?
Well, I mean, we can cross-reference my records about what was happening at the Reclaimers Academy. There was a more or less a roster of everyone. Let's see if I can find it in my notes here. But there were a number of humans, and there was definitely some more going on. I'm trying to think of who felt like they were. You're sure it was a human too, and not a dwarf, right?
That's what she said. So
Okay.
we have the Chanticleers, which I think they were probably human. Maybe? Question mark.
The founders, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Onyx Bane was the dwarf. Tanglefoot was the ranger. Sendus Proxim was a headmaster.
Servant named Galatar.
Yeah, that was the one that was in the service of someone else, though, right?
Maybe.
I don't think the noble host, the Lord Chanticleer, was involved, but I can look into it and cross-reference a little bit. So
Because,
two people
well,
survived, but
we know just from our dealings with these chaos creatures that they insert themselves into places of power, right? Like with the dragon. So, I mean, it kind of tracks that somebody without, an official position who is, a friend to the emperor, um, might
well,
not be what they seem.
to be fair, most of the people at the academy, at the Reclaimers Academy, died the night that Izeld went there. So it wouldn't likely be one of them. And I mean, need I remind you that I'm not exactly sure of the mechanism or how the godly things work out, but Zaleen was also there, in one form or another.
Well, but we also know that when these Tanglefoot creatures die, they don't really die. They'd reform somewhere else and come back. So, even if,
True.
they did die at the Reclaimers Academy, like Tanglefoot, there's nothing saying they couldn't have come back.
True, although from the number of visions that we had, most of the deaths we saw bodies. Where in the Tanglefoot case, there's no body left over. I suppose we can replay those memories.
We
although I don't
we
know if we
did
can trigger them anymore.
we did see Tanglefoot appeared as a ghost. Because he possessed Zinhorn. It was really creepy.
That might have been his natural form, actually. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what their species is, but if they do spawn from the nightmare or the realm of nightmares, the fact that they have a physical body at all might be another suit to wear.
So how Tilith explained it was that when like Tanglefoot specifically, and probably this other human, she said they were changed when they left here. Like they had a parasite tag along, and it just kind of gradually over time took over the host.
Oh, Proxim was a fire genasi, so that one's eliminated. That was the
So
headmaster.
if it avoids unintended dead ends, it was supposed to be a fire genasi, not a human cell. So, but
Oh.
this is part of what I was saying before, is that you already had that clue because you found the other half of the journal. So when you were in Reclaimers Academy, you found half a journal in the headmaster's office, and you found at the tunnel where you fought Tanglefoot the other half of the journal. So I said human. I should have said I had to look up my notes to confirm that they were.
Wait, did you say
Okay.
human or did you say fire genasi? If you said fire genasi, then it could have been the headmaster.
My memory gets a little foggy sometimes.
But I don't think the friend is a fire genasi, although they can change their form.
Hmm.
I can probably test for that. More than just the detect nightmare spell. Mind probe or potentially... Well, there are probably things that can remove illusions or shape-shifting for that matter. I haven't looked into it.
If possible, I would like to be as far away from that as possible. Like those are experiments I am not interested in.
I know it's
Although
private, but your own shape-shifting. It's not the same, is it?
so this is kind of part of what you missed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was tired. I had to sleep.
So yes, the short version of that is that one of Tilitha's company left all of the others before they built the rest of the temple, and that was Hestia. And it was revealed that all of Tilitha and her colleagues were transformed by their own magic in much the same way that Carolina is, and so Tilitha speculated that Carolina's nature may be because she is a descendant of Hestia.
Ta-da!
Oh. Well, that's good. I'd much rather you be descendant of one of them than a descendant or relative or otherwise kin to Tanglefoot's kind.
Well, I like to think I'm my own person anyway. So you can't necessarily judge people by what they look like,
Especially when they can change what they look like. But I really think it's more about actions.
So
Okay.
we figured out who the other human was, huh? But we don't know
Well,
if.
Fire Genasi. I know they're
Hmm.
mostly the same, except for the flaming hair.
But over time, being infected with this chaos parasite, it essentially it changes their form and what they look like. And yeah, they can shapeshift, I guess, but they can look like anybody.
You don't
But
suppose it's as simple as red, right?
as what?
Well, fire is red, and the other one of Tanglefoot's kind is red.
I got the impression that that had to do more with like how powerful
You also
If
fought a
they
blue one
were.
on the beach.
was it blue or green?
There was a blue one and a green one and a red one and a gray one that you fought.
Yeah,
The one we
And it
fought at the Dragons.
was red.
That one was red.
Red. Yeah.
And we know that the gray one, Tanglefoot, is way more powerful. So I think color might be indicative of power level, maybe? Might be age. I mean, it stands to reason that the older you get, the more experience you have and the more powerful you get. That's I don't know anything about
And the
those
more
things,
gray
though.
you get. That was the part that you didn't say, but yeah.
There are ways to fix that.
Color just leaches out over time.
Yeah, the red ones are just, they went in for, dye jobs.
Touch up.
Yeah.
Wow, it sounds like we really learned a lot. I'll have to digest it later.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. That's for sure.
I think you guys had maybe gone to sort of like the bedroom chamber of the tower, and then there's a knock knock on the door, and followed by knock knock. May I come in? I don't wish to disturb.
Sure, you're welcome.
So Ivy comes in and just says, "So, Nedry, I saw you are quite busy taking all of your fancy notes regarding the operation of the magical principles on that slab and all. Um, Obviously, this is quite a remarkable situation we all find ourselves in. I wonder if I could copy some of your notes, if that's all right. I do have my own arcane interests and all, but so much was going on that I think we could rather increase our respective knowledge by comparing notes, if that makes sense to you."
Well, sure. I mean, I was really doing more cross correlation and then a bit of extra theorizing to make sure that some of the extra variables were taken care of. And some of the handwriting is a system that I've developed myself to make sure it's more concise, to be able to explain things more when I'm in a different state, kind of tired.
Oh,
But
see,
I can
this is
probably explain some of it to you.
This is exactly what I was just talking about, because I didn't really get much of that, but I was in fact paying attention when Tilithaku was speaking, so I could probably help fill you in on some of those details.
Oh, that would help. It's hard writing two things at the same time. I find it better if I could learn to write with both hands.
Well, I will leave you to your discussions because it sounds fascinating, but I am just exhausted.
Just
So
for a
tired.
moment, she just like turns to you, and I think she like, if as long as you don't like pull away or anything, she sort of takes one of your hands in both of hers and she says, "Are you doing all right? It seems like there are some rather personal revelations in there."
Mm, yeah. Um, I don't really know how I feel about it yet. Still thinking. I mean, it doesn't really change anything. I don't think. Do you think it changes anything?
Well, it doesn't necessarily change anything. It doesn't have to, but it is rather sort of. It only changes anything if it matters to you. It's if you use this new knowledge to make a change for yourself. Because what is true would have been true before, whether you knew it or not. But now that you do, you can choose whether it means anything.
You already knew about the things I can do, right?
I was briefed just a little bit. You know, I didn't want to be too non-discreet about it because I could certainly understand it's a private thing. I didn't want to discuss it with anyone else, but there's been some, um, study done of all of you when there was more concern that you were perhaps dangerous rogue individuals. But I've been so pleased to meet you all in person and discover how good your hearts are and that you are, in fact, quite capable and skilled at handling all of these sorts of things, far better than many that I have encountered trying to achieve this level of adventuring. I think
Well,
I'm babbling just a little bit. I just wanted to make sure you were okay.
I don't know if okay is the right word. It's just different. That changes kind of what I do. So,
All right. Well, I know that we've only known each other for a short time, and so I wouldn't wish to presume, but sometimes an outside opinion can be, helpful in illuminating and talking through some of these things. So, if you ever wish to consider me a listening ear, although of course, mine are not, those
metaphorically
flappy
speaking,
things
I
like you all have.
understand.
But the yes. So just the point is, and I know, of course, too. If you feel like I'm the stranger that's been assigned to your team, I understand if you wouldn't wish to disclose. But I just wanted to say, if that was appealing, consider me a willing listener.
I appreciate the offer. Thank you very much. Um, and but you two have so much to discuss. So
Yes.
I will just leave you to it.
She holds up her own notebook at you eagerly, Nedry.
It's
I
times
will.
like this I wish I had more illusion spells, but a blackboard would do.
All right. So, does anyone else have business that they want to get to before everyone would kind of turn in for a long rest?
Nope.
So, while you're resting, Zaleen, you, during your trance, find yourself aware of the Mistress of the Dark's presence in your mind, and it's simple, but it just says, there is much to learn and to do, and I have prepared you for where you are. And although you do not know yet everything that is to come, I wish you to know that you are on the path that I have set for you.
Okay. I'll keep going.
I have seen fit to alter some of the terms of our relationship to one another to better fit our developing connection. And there is another asset that I will send to you when the time is right.
Okay.
Well done.
Thank you, mistress.
And then you feel the presence withdraw. Zinhorn, I think you have dreams of the endless waltz. You want to tell me about them?
They start off with seeing my mother in the arena and sitting with my father and Buster, and we're watching mom and cheering for her and going through a fight with an opponent that looks to be twice her size, but she's outclassing him with speed and maneuverability, and she's not doing a ton of damage on him, but it's like death by 1,000 cuts. As she's quicker, and he can't get a blow on her. She just keeps moving out of his way,
Mm-hmm.
and finally he succumbs to all the wounds, and they cheer, and we join her in the circle, and there's like lot big keg of wine comes out, and we're all just drinking, and like everyone loves the show, and they pour into the battlefield, but there's one figure still sitting up in the seats,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, it's like the only person who's not smiling, who just looks more and more regretful and concerned, like not having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I can't think of his name.
Shelter. Yeah.
Selter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that there is a moment as in the dream you're kind of realizing all of that, and there's a moment where even though he's quite a distance away, you make and you feel the eye contact there,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a little bit of a sense of like all of a sudden the ground is shaking almost like an earthquake or something, but then you find yourself coming awake and it is just Buster snoring so loud. He's just like you're just rumbling the room. But you're able to get back to sleep. And so I think everyone is able to complete their long rest, and formally leveled up now. Like, not that you weren't leveled up, but All right, so rest was needed, of course, but now pocket protectors. What next?
I'm gonna wake up and well, I've already been awake and I've been like sitting next to Carolina the whole time, just like waiting, stalk watching like I do, just like, come on, hurry up, hurry up.
Yeah, you just slowly blink your eyes open, Carolina, and you're just looking right into Zalene's face like a cat waking you up.
Yeah. I feel like at this point I may have gotten used to the behavior. It's like every night, same thing happens. Good morning.
I think I might know how we can close off the tunnel.
Okay. That's good news.
Yeah. It came to me while I was meditating. I think I have a solution.
Well, it is a pleasant surprise to be woken up to something good for once.
Right? Well, I mean, I always am
Yeah.
here when you wake up.
There is that.
I think you hear from the other room, like on the second floor. You say, "Not the only thing." Evan is making pancakes in the kitchen.
Evan's making pancakes.
Yeah.
I heard him. And yeah, so that's a thing. Like, I think I can fix the tunnel problem.
Well, let's go wake the others and tell them the good news.
Okay.
Just,
Hey, everybody,
coming out
there's
of the room, like with a
pancakes.
cowbell. Ding, 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 ding.
Needs more cowbell, you guys.
Yeah.
So like as everybody sits down, I will tell them all that I have a solution, that I think I know how to seal off the tunnel. I can shape stone.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I can actually create like stone doorways, and I can meld stone and stuff like that. So we
Cool.
can block that off now,
It's a good thing you're on our side, because that would make tunneling a lot easier for them.
right? Oh, could you imagine? Oh, I bet you they have people who can do that. They have to. I mean, look at this tunnel. They've been doing it. I mean, this is going to take me a few minutes. It's going to take a bit, but I mean, I'll probably have to do it several times to get it to what we want. But yeah.
Well, that's good news.
Mm-hmm.
So are you just heading over to do that, or are you still just kind of all talking?
We're all just still sitting here.
Sure. No, sure, that's fine.
We should
There's
We should-
pancakes.
also possibly discuss the whole Rupino Trendanel situation. We still have a dead body on the tower, and that's kind of gross.
I was thinking about that too. Like Trendanel, can we use the detect nightmare spell to detect the nightmare in him before we resurrect him?
Well, we
Or
already
like
know
could
it's
we
there.
remove the nightmare before he's resurrected, or does he have to be
Well,
alive?
while we can try, I suspect it's. Well, he's effectively on another plane of existence. And most spells don't work across planes.
Go ahead and make an Arcana check.
Can I help?
Sure.
So you can do
Wait, are we talking about Rupino or Trendanel right now?
Trendanel.
Rupino is in the gem.
Yep.
Trend-
Trendanel is dead.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, is he really on another plane of existence? Because he's here.
Well, I mean, when you die, your soul goes where it's meant to go. So, I mean, if he's corrupted, is it his body or his soul? I mean, that's the question.
Mhm.
really.
21 on the Arcana check.
Okay. Well, I think with that, you do know that most non-Denutherian magic does not really have any ability to, affect an individual beyond the death of their physical body, right? Like any magic cast on them would be on the body and not the spirit. But this does actually seem to be an exception in that regard, because a lot of what you're calling corruption and everything is essentially energy being filtered through the plane of dream. It does require the consciousness to be there. And so if the soul of the individual is elsewhere and not in the physical body, then the nightmare would be too.
So we'd have to resurrect him before we can do it.
So this might be a bad time, but I feel like maybe I should mention one more thing. I was trying. Well, we had a lot going on at the time, but I think maybe possibly when I put the what was it, dragon thing, whatever, worm. I'm trying to remember now.
It was a phase worm, you could call it. The giant worm.
The phase worm that we were fighting. When I used the Vidunme deck, it definitely put him in the deck, but I think maybe he took the place of something else. So just saying.
So maybe he is out. But
I don't think so.
Oh. How
So it's
far away might they be when they got out?
do I know that? I'm trying to what is it,
I
like
I don't remember
because I
think
it
it was
was,
like within 5 miles or something like that. I don't remember for sure. We could pull
I'll
up the
look.
So because what what Sorashano is able to help you with is to give you the choice of it happening immediately nearby instead of happening at some random location within a radius. But you,
Says release nightmare appears at a random location within 10d10 miles
okay,
and terrorizes the living.
yeah, yeah. So let's see, 10d10. I'll go ahead and I'm gonna roll
Middle of
that
the
right
ocean.
now. Although you don't know what the number is. Okay.
Don't know exactly where. Probably sort of close ish.
Oh dear.
So, do you have any idea what did get released?
I vaguely remember you said there was a flash of something and then the other thing appeared on the card, but
Yeah, I
can't for
will.
the life
I
of me
will
remember what it was.
basically go ahead and say you don't remember. It was a very stressful moment, and you kind of don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you got eaten by
didn't
a
get it.
worm twice.
I didn't get a good look at it. I'm really sorry. I didn't want that to happen, but
That's
it
the
felt like we didn't really have
gamble.
much of a choice.
We're all still standing here.
Well, it's
and as
okay.
long as we draw breath, we can deal with it. And if you stop drawing breath, I can deal with that.
Well, if it's in the area, then
Evan
surely
gives you an
someone
extra
would have seen
pancake.
something.
Ninahorn is not shy.
Oh, I'm sure someone's seen something, but I mean, we're down in this super
Yeah.
bottom layer of this temple where nobody else, like most people don't even know this exists.
We kind of have to deal with this. There's so much stuff we got to prioritize what we
Oh.
need to do.
I could maybe ask, Yobert, if anybody's seen anything.
Oh,
Okay.
that'd
Yeah,
be
that's a good idea.
Probably have to go out of the tower to do that, though. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Different plane. It's kind of funky. It might not work.
I
Don't go alone.
I don't think I don't remember if we established that one way or
We've
another.
done that in the tower
So
before.
I think what it is just like the sending spell. It can
Mhm.
go across planes, but there's like a chance. There's a percentile chance
Yeah.
that it could fail.
Yeah, and if all I have to do is step outside the door and it's
Mhm.
maybe probably relatively safe.
Mhm.
I'll
go
go out with
just
you.
in case.
Okay.
Yeah.
You step
And,
back out into the cave and are immediately shot in the throat by an arrow. And no, I'm kidding.
Rip. Oh, Zinhorn. You better
Oh,
resurrect her.
Yeah.
look around with I'll do my little squinty eye thing, see if I see
Mhm.
anybody hiding magically or whatever.
Nope.
Okay. Well, then I will step out and I will pull out the sending stone and try to contact Yobert.
Mhm.
So quick question. Have you seen anything big and scary recently in the area?
That wasn't the way I thought you were going to phrase that. I couldn't make that connection. I think what you get back is wonderful to hear from you. I'm glad you're apparently all right because you're asking about other things. Yes, but we're fine at the moment.
Oh dear. Yeah, sorry about that. We will try to attend to it as soon as possible. Got a lot going on here. Just sit tight.
A successful investigation into the temple, then?
Yes, I think you could say successful. We're all good for now. Yeah, for the moment.
Wonderful. We are still hovering nearby. Let us know when to come pick you up.
I will let you know as soon as we make a decision here. Thank you. Over and out.
Um, I was just thinking of some funny like tag on jokes for that, but I don't think any of them make sense the way the sending stones work. You know, it's not like you hear people yelling in the background and stuff, right? So I think then what you hear is like, no, what's just she can't even hear you. What? No, what? Yeah, okay, goodbye. We'll see you.
There's just like Sorashana in the background, all like, tell her
Yeah, you
this.
get the impression that like someone at least was trying to talk to him while he was trying to talk to you, and it was distracting.
I could see like sequential, just like, hey, tell her, you know, blah, blah, blah. We got the thing and it's doing the thing, and
Mhm.
I don't know. So
While we're looking for humans that might have been around during the Reclaimers Academy, I mean, Bear is an old
So-
human adventurer,
Well, bear in mind, Reclaimers Academy was like 80 years ago. That was before his time.
right?
and
That and
Yobert
it
is
was
a
a fire
tiefling.
genasi.
Oh,
Yeah.
Isn't Yobert
Well,
a tiefling?
yes, Yobera is a tiefling, and so we did establish. Even though I said human as Tilitha, retcon it was a fire genasi.
oh, okay.
I misremembered the,
Oh, the head of the academy.
Yes.
Okay.
All
right.
I actually have a question for you, Christiana. You said that there were 7 thrones in there, but
No, there were 7
6.
people and 6 thrones.
okay, but I only have 6 names of people in my list that I took when we had read the book and stuff.
Tilitha, Rupino, Ustok, Trandonel, Hestia, and Selter.
Was there another one that we missed?
Hang on.
Stumbled upon the deep lore.
There was a
It's a
7th party
rounding
member.
error.
Hmm.
Nothing divides by 7.
I was
Well-
like, maybe I
Cards
just
like
didn't write it down. But,
Well,
you know.
that's embarrassing. No, I was just saying the wrong number.
Okay. Thank you. I thought maybe I just didn't write it down right because I do that, and then Mark is like, "Yeah, this," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, Mark knows." So,
Yeah, I figured if anybody would know, it would be Mark.
yeah,
It's all right. That's on me.
it's okay.
The,
I
the,
just
the
wanted
point
to
being, there was
clarify.
one fewer throne than the people who came out.
So 5
Yes.
thrones, 6 people.
Yes.
Right.
We knew what you meant. Okay.
All
Got
right.
it.
Excellent. Sweet.
Yay.
Amongst the thrones, there was one less.
Yes. One got thrown
Let's
out.
count the thrones. 1, 2, 5, 3, sir.
Tis a silly number.
Hmm.
So, I think Rupino or not Rupino, Yobert may have spotted our little problem. That
Oh, that's
I mean,
wonderful.
he says they're okay for now, and to let us know when to come and pick us. Let them know when to come and pick us up. So I feel like maybe that's something that should happen relatively quickly, because the longer that thing is out, the more people it will terrorize. I feel really bad about that, guys.
Well,
Yeah.
how
Well, I
much
mean,
can
you have to
close
remember,
up?
like,
Sorry.
how long was the tunnel? Did we get like an actual?
It was pretty long. What you are able to do with the stone shape spell, is what you guys can do is take like rubble, like smaller rocks, and sort of create like a pile that would fill it up, and then you can use the spell to like make that like completely smooth, like a wall, like a solid wall. I don't
Okay.
think that spell is enough to completely collapse the tunnel, but you can, make like a solid, like 5-foot cube wall of stone.
Right.
It just takes the time of getting all of the stone in position and then using the spell to solidify it.
Okay. Would it be possible? Let me look at the spell again really quick. Would it be possible to do that in like 3 different places so that even if they got through one wall,
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, so hopefully we don't have to kill anybody because I just
Yeah.
used my spell 3 times.
Do we think that we're going to go through that tunnel ever ourselves?
I hope
Well,
not.
I mean, I don't know. If we
Because I
have
could
to,
put a trap in if there's multiple walls.
yeah, you could do that.
Also, I'm going to say that it's going to take some time because you're talking about moving enough boulders, basically, or rocks to fill 5-foot cube more than once. That's
Right.
that's going to take hours and hours.
And like, I mean, I could theoretically animate object like
Yeah,
You know.
to do that, but that would mean burning a lot of spells. My
Yeah.
2 5th level spells right at the beginning
yeah.
of the day.
See, I'm kind of concerned because if I do this, then I use both of my highest level spells, and we're talking about going to kill something that you release from
Well,
the Doom
I
Ray
think
deck.
I think maybe the most important one is that back wall. That's
Yeah.
right where he was trying to get through.
Good point.
Um,
I mean, if we're coming back here at some point, we can always do it again
Mm-hmm.
and again. I'm sure we're gonna have to come back, especially if we can convince Rupino and or Trendonel to resume.
Well, so I think the two, if you're going to do it once, the two places that it might make sense to do it are either at the far end of the tunnel where he was trying to, dig through that last wall. You could just basically make it 5 foot thicker more that you would have to go through. Alternately, you could do it where you had blocked it with the tower, but and so as to essentially seal off the tunnel opening.
Right. When we do it, can we make it look seamless so that even if they've been in here before or they know that there used to be a tunnel there, that they would have a hard time finding it?
I'll let you roll for that.
Okay, what do I need to roll?
Well, let's see.
Where
I
is
think
Bartholomew when you need him?
Right?
I think, because well, you know what? I think it's probably. I think it's probably like sleight of hand or dexterity, because
Okay.
you've got control over it, so it'll kind of do what you want, but it's still kind of down to your hand movements and kind of just trying to like.
Oh, 6.
Okay. Yeah, so I think you're trying really hard and it looks really smooth, but then as you actually release the spell, it just goes and it like warps out and it's got like a big blister looking appearance on the outside. You could try again if you cast the spell again.
No, because then I won't be able to do anything cool if we have to fight a monster.
Up to you. So right now,
Oh.
like it is successfully sealed off, but you can see that it looks like a patch, not the original wall.
Okay. Maybe I can fix it again later. I mean, this is new. It's the first time I ever had to do anything like this.
I think you did a very good job for it being your first time doing it. Spells are hard.
I know.
Carolina sometimes sounds patronizing, even when I don't think she's trying to.
Yeah,
Spells are hard.
but that's okay. Like, I wouldn't know. Like, she could totally be doing that. I would just be like, "Oh."
She's genuinely trying to make you feel better.
Okay. Either way, it does make me feel better. So, yeah, so that's taken care of. And then, are we leaving? Are we going to tell Talitha that we're leaving? Or are we just going to go
Well,
and then come
now that
back?
you are familiar with her, you could communicate with her with sending as well.
I could do that.
Whoever has the sending spell.
I didn't prepare it today.
I believe I have that, don't I?
I don't know. Do you?
Yes, I do. I do have it. Yeah. So, is it really a third level spell?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So, I will use sending, focusing on Talitha.
Mhm.
Say, we, let's see, what do I want to say exactly here?
Tell her that we've sealed the tunnel for now, and that we are going to try to, I don't know.
Okay. Patched the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Sit tight. No, no, she doesn't have a choice.
Once again,
Will
patronizing
be-
without trying.
We'll be back soon.
Hopefully with friends.
Hopefully with some solutions. Stay safe.
So I think that this is a good, so like if we're imagining the TV show here, we know we're coming to the end of the episode. So I think what we would actually be hearing is your voiceover as we watch Talitha there in this chamber sitting in the throne. I think when we hear the sit tight part, there's a little bit of a
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
but as she listens to the rest though, and the camera's kind of pulling back, and we're seeing all of these strange sort of magical swirls still moving throughout the room, and there's we hear her finish the end of the message, and then she sort of sits up a little straighter than she had been.
Oh god.
I believe in you. And that's all she says.
I mean, I can't reply, but
Yeah. All
you
right.
guys, she believes in us.
And I think that's probably a great place to end the episode.
Yay.
Yay!
He believes in us.
I'm so glad you were able to join in progress, Mark.
Yes, I was out of everything, but that's okay.
Sure. No worries. So in any case, like if there's anything that you sort of like once you re-listen or something, you're like, oh my gosh, I totally would have asked this. We can talk about that offline. But in the meantime, thank you everybody for listening and or watching, and we will be back next week for more adventure on so many levels.
So many levels.
Many levels.
For
All
more
the
questions.
levels.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Nice.